Now then,
We already
during
know.
the
We
class
already
try
know.
if you vote
We
true.
already know.
I'll punish everyone. Oh well, who cares about this boring explanation? Let's
But
get
yeah,
on with
this
it
is like
already.
the third time we've done this. I don't know why you're still explaining the rule.
Right?
I don't mind starting the trial, but I don't really have a grasp of how the case played out. You know, because I was asleep the whole time.
Bullshit.
Even if you do grasp it, you're just gonna confuse the heck out of us, aren't you?
But Nagito's not alone. I don't really get it either.
You're fine. Your head's empty anyway.
Empty head? Huh. What's wrong with that? Listen up! The emptier your head, the more dreams you can stuff inside it, you know?
Anyway, we shouldn't
This is
proceed
kinda
with
like,
the trial if those two can't participate in the arguments. Since he's the first witness, why don't we ask Hajime to explain the incident and the sequence of events?
Then, let's start with when we split into the hospital team and motel team because of the despair disease. The hospital team consisted of Nagito, Ibuki, and Akane, who were infected, and Mikan, Fuyuhiko, and me.
The other 5 on the motel team were myself, Gundam, Kazuichi, Chiaki, and Hiyoko.
Spending the night at the hospital was prohibited, so Hajime and I had to sleep at our cottages.
I woke up at my cottage on the day the incident happened. Mikan came by to wake me up and told me that Nagito had recovered from his symptoms. We immediately headed over to the hospital, and after we confirmed his recovery, I made Mikan rest in the on-call room since she hadn't slept all night, while I waited in the hospital lobby. And then, I saw the incoming signal light on the surveillance camera blinking before our scheduled time. When I pressed the button to turn on the monitor, what appeared on screen was a video of someone wearing a hospital gown and a hemp bag on their head, climbing a stepladder.
Amazing! That's such a heart-pounding story! And then what did you do, Hajime?
It's not a story, dude. I'm just whatever.
I tried to stop them, of course. I rushed out of the hospital and ran to where the video was being recorded, the music venue. But it was too late. By the time I arrived, the person wearing the hemp bag on their head was already hanging from the ceiling. I thought I should tell the others right away, so I headed to the motel.
Why the motel?
Because it was close to the music venue, and unlike the hospital, there were more able-bodied people there. At least, that's what I thought. But the only person who came with me was Chiaki.
But I remember feeling a little relieved because not long after, we met up with Mikan and Fuyuhiko.
We were also looking for Ibuki since she disappeared from our sight.
After I rested for a bit, I started counting everyone at the hospital. And then I noticed Ibuki was gone, so I sprinted out of the hospital. Coincidentally, I ran into Fuyuhiko, so I pled with him in various ways to see if he could help me out.
Various ways?
Shut up, simp.
Don't say it like that and confuse people.
Don't blush like that, you fucking idiot!
After I heard from those two that Ibuki disappeared, I had a feeling she was the person wearing the hemp bag. So I immediately led them to the music venue.
But the door wouldn't open. Since we had no other option, the 4 of us broke down the door. And when that happened, we didn't just find Ibuki's body. We also found Hiyoko's, and not just that. Her body was taped to a pillar.
That's when we heard the body discovery announcement. Not once, but twice in a row.
And so we decided to lower the hanged body, didn't we?
When we removed the hemp bag, just as we feared, it was Ibuki.
So that's how the case played out. Thank you. I understood it very easily.
Well, it's clear what the problem with this case is. When Hajime left the music venue, who...
Wait, how do I know anything Hajime just said is true?
Because there were multiple people that witnessed it, you dumb fuck. Stop trying to derail the case, you asshole!
Huh?
Sorry, I'm only being impartial right now. And the story I just heard is clearly suspicious.
You see why I can't stand Nagito? What the fuck is wrong with you fangirls?
Hajime, if you're the only one who saw the hanging video, and the first one to discover Ibuki's body, then you could be lying as much as you want right now, right?
Why would we? Why?
Lie? Why would I lie?
Obviously. So you could make us ignore what might be an inconvenient truth for you.
And that would be?
Do you doubt me?
If you're not lying, I would like you to prove it. Come on, try to prove it to me. Prove you're not the killer.
Very well. No, we can prove it. We can prove it easily. We can easily prove that we're not the killer.
No, that just reminds me of the last game with fucking Hero, like, wasting time proving whether or not, like, someone... It wasn't proving we're not the killer or something like that?
Yeah, it was the very first one. It was the very first trial where everyone thought Makoto was the killer.
Yeah, that's just...
Michaela's the killer. Absolutely, guys. I'm the one that did it. It's just as Kazuichi said. Nagito's the kind of guy who'll just confuse us and make matters worse. Damn it. I shouldn't have explained it to Nagito. I'm in trouble now thanks to that. Oh, you're fine. Alright, let's see what we got here.
Like, this really does not need to happen. But nope, instead we gotta fucking defend ourselves with something that's clearly fucking obvious. Fuck you, Nagito!
Hajime's testimony is clearly suspicious.
If Hajime's testimony is a lie, then the fact that Ibuki hung herself...
That would also be a lie.
I don't think I can deny that possibility.
Dude!
After all, Hajime's the only witness.
Why would Hajime lie?
Well, obviously because he's the killer.
Did Hajime kill both of them?
The fact that the bodies were imitating the movie means it probably is Hajime's fault.
I know it is. Yep.
That the bodies were imitating...
No, that's wrong!
Bro! Fucking bro.
I'm not the killer! I mean, there's no way I'd be able to imitate that movie.
Of course you're not. I already knew that.
Fuck you, Nagito, and everyone that unironically likes him. You are all fucked in the head.
I mean, I can't defend that. I'm sorry, guys.
Huh?
Before the incident, Hajime had never watched that movie. His invitation ticket is proof of that. Each person only received one ticket, and they're marked with a stamp that shows the date and time. Isn't that right, Monokuma?
Yes, no mistakes there.
Which means there's no way Hajime, who never saw the movie, could commit murders that imitated it.
Then why waste time
Thank you.
trying to clear this?
Or did anyone tell him what happens in the movie? Of course no one did, right?
Hold on a sec. You're the one who brought this up in the first place.
Thank you, Soda.
Nagito, what are you doing?
Well, since we're opening with your witness testimony, I thought we should solidify the foundation. It also provides a good warm-up.
For what?
What warm-up? This isn't a game, you know.
Actually, it is. We're playing
Don't get
DanganRonpa 2.
mad. I just think warming up is really important. Especially since this isn't a game.
What a waste of time. Well, I knew it would turn out like this anyway.
Yeah.
Now then, since we know Hajime's testimony is reliable, let us move on to the arguments.
So this means Ibuki definitely climbed the stepladder all by herself, right?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Then that seals it! Ibuki committed suicide!
If Ibuki committed suicide, then who killed Hiyoko?
A murder coincidentally occurring in the same place as a suicide. Ain't possible, huh?
Like I said before, it's pretty clear what the problem with this case is. The killer murdered Hiyoko while Hajime was gone. So all we gotta do is establish who could have possibly done that.
Simply because time of death is a question mark.
Then let's ask Hajime. How long would you say you were away from the music venue?
10 minutes tops.
I couldn't have been gone for more than 10 minutes.
So they killed Hiyoko and taped her up within 10 minutes? There's no way that's possible.
Actually, it is, like, if you want to really go into the technical standards of it, it's actually possible, if you plan it. You'd have to make sure that Hiyoko was locked into one place. And then, while Hajime is gone, you'd have to listen for when Hajime closes the doors, slit her throat, and while she's bleeding out, tape the shit out of her. Like, and basically run. You'd have to run around that pillar as fast as possible. But you just have to go mega fast. It's possible, it's just not probable.
That's why the killer stalled for time by making the music venue a closed room.
What do you mean, a closed room?
The killer blocked the venue door from the inside to try and keep us from entering right away.
However, that door is the only entrance to the music venue, right? If they blocked the door from the inside, the killer would not have been able to leave either.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Which means, when we broke down the venue door, the killer was still inside.
They were?
If that's the case, the only suspicious people are those who don't have an alibi for that time. And that's you two! Sonia and Kazuichi!
Me too?
What the hell? Why's it gotta be us?
Didn't we just say you guys don't have an alibi?
The others all have alibis. Chiaki, Mikan, Hajime, and I all broke down the venue door together. Gundam met up with Hajime at the motel right before that. And if Akane and Nagito were laid up in the hospital, the only person that leaves is one of you.
Beauty and the Simp. Ah!
There's another person who doesn't have an alibi. You know, Nekomaru.
I mean, he's kind of...
Indisposed and still recovering from taking a fucking bazooka head on.
Me too!
Shut up, Hanakuma.
Hey, why are you talking like... Huh? You're kidding, right? You're not up to something weird, are you?
Please stop making bad jokes.
Anyway, if the killer was hiding inside the venue, we should obviously doubt the people who don't have alibis.
What a wicked way of backing us into a wall. Is this his professional skill?
I mean, now he's seriously trying to be involved in this, so yeah. Here's the thing. Fuyuhiko, out of the entire fucking class, would be the best detective. Because he's a Yakuza. He knows how to hide shit. So, what's the best kind of detective? One that was originally a psychopath. The killer was inside the music venue. Fuyuhiko obviously thinks so, but is that really it? Alrighty, let's see what we got.
The killer was still inside the music venue. By locking the door from the inside, they tried to keep us from getting in.
It seems they were trying to stall for time.
How did they lock the door? That door should not have had a lock.
Correct.
The lock was on the floor in front of the door.
Are you talking about the broken drumstick?
You can use that as a bolt to lock the door. By doing that, the killer who was hiding inside waited till we gathered together and suddenly appeared.
So they looked like they had just rushed over.
I have seen this in serial crime dramas.
Interesting. I actually need to see that one more time. That person remark contradicts the truth. I should be able to find that, provide that with some evidence.
By locking the door from the inside.
Fuck. There we go.
No, that's wrong!
You can't lock the door from the inside.
Hold on a sec. There's also a possibility that the door was locked from the outside.
Uh-huh.
From the outside? How?
There was a semi-transparent glob stuck to the venue door. Maybe that's what they used.
Semi-transparent glob? Like rubber, maybe?
Or some kind of glue.
It wasn't repaired at all. It's a semi-transparent pop was probably.
I see!
You're right.
Yeah, let's say what else can you stick a door?
Must have been
stick
glue.
doors together other than glue.
Yep.
Glue?
Yeah, I think so too. It had a firm,
Okay, I
gel-like
thought she was eating it
chewiness,
again.
and I could smell workshop chemicals the moment I put it in my mouth. Based on all that, I'm certain it was glue.
I didn't know glue was edible.
It's not.
I believe it is not something one typically eats.
That glue was only applied to the areas where both doors touched.
So it's confirmed that Chiaki ate glue as a kid?
By pouring it in the gaps of the closed door, they must have sealed the venue door from the outside.
That explains why she always has that, like, you know, blanked out stare, like, every time we see her.
And thanks to that, a glob of glue was left where the door was stuck. Yep, it fits perfectly. But if you just stick them together with glue, you'd be able to break down the door easily, you know? That doesn't really matter. The killer only did that to make us think the door was locked from the inside.
What'd you say?
First of all, didn't that drumstick we found seem really obvious? Almost unnaturally so? It was so obvious that it makes more sense to think the killer placed it as a diversion.
Dun dun dun.
Are you saying the drumstick was a trap the killer set on purpose? Then I totally fell for that fucking trap.
But you know, it's not something you should overlook, because it might be a clue, it might not. You always collect both.
Apologize to Miss Sonia and me. However, you're not allowed to slice open your stomach this time.
Okay.
Shut up, simp.
And also, that doesn't give away your alibis. That's still based on alibi.
In a quarrel, both sides are to blame. That's why it's better to just have no sides at all.
Shut up, Monami.
So, during the 10 minutes Hajime left the venue, the killer murdered Hiyoko and created a closed space?
Yes.
And they also taped her up after killing her, right?
Yes.
Even quick work has limits.
It's probable, just not impossible.
Oh, what unimaginable speed for a slowpoke like me.
If they couldn't have done it while Hajime was away from the venue, they must have done it earlier than that.
Earlier?
But when Hajime got to the venue, only Ibuki's body was there, right?
And when you went back with everyone else, Hiyoko's body was there too, right? But it's possible that the body was just revealed at that time, when Hiyoko was actually killed earlier.
Just revealed?
Of course, the body wasn't revealed on its own. The killer did that too. Here, I have proof.
That scrap of paper. Is that what we found in the baton lighting at the music venue?
That's right, but just what is this scrap anyway?
That scrap was stuck on the baton lighting in the music venue. Now I should be able to figure out what it is.
Yeah, it looks familiar.
It is very familiar. Alright guys, Hangman's Gambit, the slowest fucking game. Done.
I got it!
That scrap. Isn't it part of the wallpaper in the storage room?
It is.
In the music venue storage room, there should have been black wallpaper that's the same color as that scrap. There was also a tear along the edge of the wallpaper, wasn't there?
You're right. If you overlay the scrap that was caught on the lighting with the tear in the wallpaper, see? It fits perfectly.
I see. So the scrap that was caught on the baton lighting was originally part of the wallpaper.
Does it have something to do with Hiyoko's body disappearing?
Yes, Akane.
A mere nobody like me isn't important enough to answer that.
At least know your fucking place, trash.
But if you guys were exceptional enough to identify that scrap of paper, you can figure this out easily.
That scrap of paper stuck to the baton lighting was part of that wallpaper I found in the storage room. Is it connected to the sudden appearance of Hiyoko's body? If I trace it back from there, the answer should become clear. Alright, let's give this a try. Alright, time to dive! Logic dive.
What was this again? Oh, right.
Question 1. Why did Hiyoko's body suddenly appear at the crime scene? It was hidden. Question 2. What did the killer use to hide her body? The wallpaper. The last question. How did the killer hide her body with a wallpaper? Whee! We did it! Why did Hiyoko's body suddenly appear at the crime scene? It was hidden. What did the killer use to hide her body? The wallpaper. How did the killer hide her body with the wallpaper? They covered the pillar and made it look like a pillar.
It's all coming together! I got it! Hyoko's body was hidden before we found it.
But it would have taken quite a long time to tape up a hidden body.
No, the body was already taped up and the killer hid it, along with the pillar using the wallpaper.
What? They hid the pillar?
Yeah, by wrapping the wallpaper around the pillar, the killer was able to create a slightly larger pillar. So when I first discovered Ibuki's body, Hyoko's body was already there. However, because it was concealed within a slightly larger pillar, I didn't realize that at the time.
Well, that's understandable. I mean, it makes sense that you'd notice Ibuki's body right away.
So they used the baton lighting on the ceiling to hang the wallpaper?
Yep.
The baton lighting forms a perfect circle around the pillar, so using it to hang the wallpaper totally fits.
Pretty much.
Then, the reason the wallpaper was covered in so many stickers was to make it look like that pillar.
That's how they hid Hiyoko's body, and then peeled off the wallpaper as soon as I left the music venue.
But the killer made a mistake. They accidentally ripped off a piece of the wallpaper. And because of that, a scrap was left on the baton lighting.
The killer must have been in a hurry. Their plan took too long. Hajime could have walked in on them.
But going to the trouble of hiding the body and the pillar is very bold and risky.
But the crime itself would be much easier to pull off since they don't have much to do while Hajime's gone.
Yeah, it's much more doable.
They just have to peel off that wallpaper and stash it in the storage room. It's not that big of a deal.
Pretty much.
Then, when was Hiyoko actually killed?
Good point. And on that note, it's about time we shed some light on those imitation murders.
You mentioned imitation murder more than once. But what is that?
Are you kidding me? You haven't seen my masterpiece? The Wizard of Monami 2.5D?
Hey, don't put my likeness in your movies without my permission.
You're pretty noisy for someone who eats mothballs.
Moth or moss?
I don't eat mothballs. I just enjoy looking at them. I knew it. There are so many similarities. It must have been intentional.
Ibuki's death by hanging matches the Scarecrow's death from the movie. Not just that, but Hiyoko getting taped up after her death matches the lion's death.
It's as if both crimes were replicas of scenes from the movie, although the mutilated Tin Man was omitted.
But why did the killer go to all this trouble in the first place?
Based on what we know, the reason the killer chose these imitations isn't that difficult to figure out.
The reason the killer imitated those two victims in that movie, I should explain that right now. To mix up the killing order.
I see!
The reason the killer imitated two of the murders from the movie was so he'd mix up the killing order.
Pretty much.
Then, Hiyoko was actually killed before Ibuki?
Dun dun dun!
A valid line of reasoning.
Yeah, it's valid. The condition of Ibuki's body suggests that as well.
What do you mean? If you're going to cry and beg like that, then I guess I'll hear about the condition of Ibuki's body.
When did the crying and begging happen?
I'm not even crying.
Thank you, Chiaki.
I'll let you sob as much as you want later. Just hurry up and tell me before I change my mind.
Gundam.
What a jerk!
Oh, I see. You want me to explain it to you, right? Because you don't understand what I'm saying, right?
An even bigger jerk? Impossible!
You just got out jerked.
Look,
Got it wrong.
Ibuki died because she hanged herself, right? That means when she was still alive, her feet were touching the floor.
What's wrong with that?
But it seems Ibuki was still standing when Hiyoko was killed. That would mean Hiyoko was killed before Ibuki.
How light. Your words are so light as the sylph's feather. Your opponent is out of your league. It is too absurd to try to perplex me so inadequately.
It's not a dick measuring contest, Gundam. Calm down, best boy.
Man, he's being annoying again.
He is best boy. Shut the fuck up, simp.
First and foremost, you claim Ibuki's feet were touching the floor when Hiyoko was killed. How can a low-class creature with no psychic abilities like you know something like that?
By looking?
Because she was doing something that's only possible if her feet were on the floor.
It seems you suffer from a pathetic delusion.
Yeah, tell him, Daddy!
You're one to talk.
Anyway, if this continues, we're gonna talk in circles. I think it's best if we clarify Ibuki's status when Hiyoko was killed. I think we all kind of know which one it is.
When Hiyoko died, Ibuki's feet were on the floor.
I am telling you to present your evidence.
Did you see her walking?
If her feet were on the floor, Was there any sign she stepped on something?
Were there even any footprints?
Maybe her
Fucking damn,
feet were
I
on
pressed the
floor.
wrong goddamn button. It's fine.
That she was like sitting or something. So instead, there'd be a mark on her ass.
That's not possible. I believe that's not possible.
Weak, weak, I say! It doesn't even pierce my heart!
I mean, that's fine. I just fucked up and pressed the wrong goddamn button. Instead of slowing down, I
When
sped things up.
Hiyoko died,
Was there any sign she stepped on?
I agree with that.
There we go. That's it.
Just as Sonia said, Ibuki stepped on something. That something was blood. There were faint blood stains on the soles of her slippers.
That is not Ibuki's blood, right? She suffered no external injuries.
Then it's Hiyoko's blood.
Hiyoko's only wound was a fatal slice on her neck. And she died almost instantly, right?
If Ibuki stepped on her blood,
It means Ibuki was still standing when Hiyoko was mortally wounded.
Dun dun dun.
Which means Ibuki was still alive at the exact moment Hiyoko was killed.
Don't underestimate the power of the evil eye!
Gundam.
Is that it? A shepherd dressed in his Sunday's finest still reeks of lamb, Hajime Hinata.
What's wrong with that?
Does that mean you have a rebuttal?
Does that mean you have a rebuttal? That's a good line. But are you sure you're sure? If I show you how serious I am, this world might be destroyed, you know. You're so frightened you can't even make a sound. It seems you've realized our difference in status.
Gundam, I love you. Don't make me hurt you.
However, the time for conviction starts now. You better entertain me to the fullest.
Okay, sure. I know which one it is.
You're saying the blood on Ibuki's feet belonged to... Ha! Impossible! Try to remember the crime scene. There was no blood on the floor. You can't step on blood that was never there. Just about what did you see a nice nightmare?
Yep,
You're saying the blood on
I-
Ibuki's feet belonged to... Ha! Impossible! Try to remember the crime scene. There was no blood on the floor.
Allow me to cut through those
There
words!
was blood on the floor, Gundam.
That's not it. The reason there was no blood on the floor is because the killer wiped it away afterward.
Don't say such foolish things! You don't have proof of that at all!
But we do.
Yes, I do. If you look closely, there's a streak on the floor where blood was wiped away.
when the killer tried to hide Hiyoko's body, they probably cleaned the blood at the same time, but Ibuki must have already stepped in it, and the killer probably didn't even realize it.
The reason they wiped off the blood on the floor was so we'd mix up the order of the murders, right? Even if they're able to hide Hiyoko's body, it'd be bad if her blood was left out in the open.
Yep.
Plus, Ibuki's body was left out in the open, and it wasn't bleeding from any open wounds at all.
Hiyoko's body was probably wrapped in duct tape to stop her bleeding. Actually, the bleeding will stop once the heart stops beating, so I don't think they had to go that far.
Aside from Mikon, none of us were aware of that fact, so the killer probably did not know it either.
Maybe the heater was running inside the music venue so it would screw with Mikon's autopsy?
Ding ding ding!
That's right! I didn't know the time of death because of the heater!
If the time of death wasn't mentioned in the Monokuma file just to keep concrete evidence from us.
Yep. Since we have all this evidence, there's no one else who wants to object, right? Then it's decided. Hiyoko was killed before Ibuki.
It appears that it is wiser to retreat for now.
This isn't Dynasty Warriors, buddy.
Fine then, but regardless of good or evil, there's no deceit in upholding one's convictions.
You know what, Gundam? You are completely right about that.
Can't you just shut up and back off?
Shut up, simp.
Now then, let us resume our debate.
Wait a sec. There's something I want to run by Monokuma first.
And that is?
Huh? Again? Didn't something like this happen last time, too?
Hey, if the victim actually committed suicide, what are we supposed to do?
Huh? Suicide.
The same as always. You have to vote for who the killer is. Think about it. A suicide means you've killed the most important existence of all, yourself.
As dark as that sentence is, he is completely correct.
Unfortunately, that means there's no Blacken to punish, but I guess in a pinch, I can always punish Monami.
Why me?
Nagito, what do you mean? If the victim actually committed suicide?
Well, I mean, I understand Hiyoko's death, but I'm wondering if Ibuki was really murdered. For example, it's possible Ibuki killed Hiyoko and then committed suicide due to a guilty conscience, right?
That's totally impossible! Then she never would have killed her to begin with!
She was afflicted by the despair disease, remember? That means anything can happen.
But if Ibuki's the killer, she wouldn't have been able to falsify the sequence of the murders, right? After Hajime saw the hanged body, the sudden appearance of Hiyoko's body soon after means the killer had to be alive at that time.
Then she was alive! When Hajime first discovered Ibuki, she was just pretending to be dead.
How do you pretend to be dead when you're hung from a, rope?
It's actually pretty easy.
Oh.
A harness.
If she waited until Hajime left, that's when she could have made her move and mess with the crime scene.
She hanged herself. Remember? There's no fucking way she could have faked that.
And if she was going to fake her death, I think she wouldn't have chosen hanging.
That is extremely fair.
Her body would have been defenseless in that state. If anyone touched her, that alone would have ruined her plan.
I see. So that means there's no doubt that someone killed those two. I'm glad. Now I'm free to search for the killer.
What the heck?
There's still one more issue on my mind. If Ibuki didn't commit suicide, then just what was that video Hajime saw?
Huh?
According to that video you saw, Ibuki was by herself when she climbed the stepladder, right?
Correct.
Then does that mean someone forced her to do it?
She did have the despair disease of the gullible
Yeah,
state.
the gullibility one.
Forced? Perhaps they used hypnotism or something?
I don't know anything about that.
Don't say it all proud.
Putting that aside, it seems obvious that the killer did something. So, maybe we should figure out who was able to do whatever that was.
So, an alibi. Then our plan is to destroy the weakest alibi. Since Hajime has seen the video, it is clear what time the crime took place.
Right
That's
before
so.
right before the Monokuma announcements.
But just to be sure, that surveillance camera doesn't have a record function, right?
It's a cheap-ass surveillance camera, you know? There's no way it'd have some kind of sweet recording feature.
Then, the video Hajime saw was actually live?
What time did Hajime see that video?
I saw it at the hospital, right before Monokuma's morning announcement. And I saw the body at the music venue a little after Monokuma's announcement.
So Ibuki hanged herself right before Monokuma's announcement. And since we established that Hiyoko was killed before Ibuki, that means the time that the murders occurred was before and during the announcement.
Then, we just have to find the person who doesn't have an alibi during that time?
Now then, I shall issue my decree. Let Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi commence.
Yes, princess. All right, let's see what we got.
We can exclude the sick people like me and Akane, right?
And what about the others?
Right before the morning announcement, I was totally sleeping in my motel room.
I think everyone at the motel was doing that.
So everyone who stayed at the motel doesn't have an alibi.
What about you guys?
I was where I was supposed to be, my own cottage.
That's not an alibi.
But in a hotel is.
Aside from those afflicted by the disease, if nobody has an alibi, then Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi has failed.
Actually, someone does have an alibi.
If nobody has an alibi,
No, that's wrong!
Nikon has an alibi.
Hold on. Not all of us are missing an alibi. In fact, Mikan and I both have alibis.
You two have alibis?
Up until I saw that hanging video, Mikan and I were actually together for a while.
We even woke up together that morning.
Something like that.
Hey, what kind of situation is that?
Shut up, Simp!
I accidentally fell asleep on top of Hajime.
You got all the way from the hospital to his fucking room. It's like that has to be intentional. I'm sorry. I do not care how clumsy she is. That has to be fucking intentional.
I mean, she did work 48 hours non-stop on Nagito, walked over to give the news about Nagito without sleep. I think at that point she would collapse.
Too much info.
Chiaki, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's not like that. She just came to tell me Nagito's condition had improved.
And we went to the hospital together afterward. So we were together until right before the announcement.
I get it. You guys have alibis.
If that's the case, the killer must be someone else.
It's better if we think about it like that. The killer decided to falsify the murder sequence to hide the actual time of the crime anyway.
So it's inevitable that an alibi for both before and during the morning announcement would be very important.
It feels like Operation Destroy the Weakest Alibi has backed us into a corner instead.
But committing an imitation murder, is that really all it was?
Huh?
Faking the time the crime occurred by falsifying the murder sequence, hiding their alibi in the process? Was that the only reason the killer made both bodies imitate the movie?
Are you saying there was another reason?
Indeed, there is another reason.
I feel really bad for confusing you guys so much, but that's how I feel.
You don't feel bad at all for confusing the shit out of us. You do that all the time.
So shut the fuck up, Stinky.
I think the killer had a completely different reason for falsifying the murder sequence.
The killer had a different reason? If that's the case, are we still in the killer's trap? Inside a trap set by one of us? If so, then whose and what kind of trap is it? Trial suspended! Hey, guess what, guys? We're almost at the end. This was a pretty easy trial.
Hiya!
Well, hello there, Monami! The moss balls sure look tasty today!
Stop it!
Don't characterize me as someone who lives off of moss balls! And here's some chance time!
Yes, oh no.
What's that? Now then, Monami's appeal time starts now! Huh? Appeal time? Your kind-hearted big brother is gonna give you the chance to reclaim your honor. Good luck! Show those jerks who treat you like a redheaded stepchild who's bus. That's 99% your fault. While you were whining, your time's already running out, so please make your appeal simple. About 3,000 words, 30,000 words or so. That's too long. That'll just be a boring appeal. Come on, if your appeal isn't successful, there might be merchandise opportunities on the way. Then I'm Usami, magical miracle girl Usami. I'm an itty bitty girl who's sweet like milk. Jeez, and I thought a certain robot's little sister was supposed to be the best.
What a disappointment!
Who are you talking about? I have no clue whatsoever.